Ever felt like life just isn't fair? Like someone with more power, more connections, can just snap their fingers and ruin your career? I've been there. Let me tell you a story about how I got fired by the niece of a board member, only to watch her massive $5.3 billion deal go up in smoke because of it. I used to work at a pretty big tech firm, a place where innovation was supposedly the name of the game. I was a senior project manager, and I loved my job. I was heading up a project codenamed Project Chimera. It was my baby. Chimera was a revolutionary new software suite designed to integrate AI into enterprise resource planning. It was complex, ambitious, and had the potential to redefine our industry. We were about 2 years into development, navigating the tricky waters of R&D, and things were looking promising. Then she arrived. Let's call her Jennifer. Jennifer was fresh out of business school with a fancy MBA, and more importantly, she was the niece of one of our most influential board members. She was parachuted into our division as a strategic consultant, which is corporate speak for someone important wants them here, so find something for them to do. From day one, Jennifer and I just didn't click. She'd walk into meetings late, Starbucks cup in hand, and start questioning foundational decisions we'd made months, even years ago. She didn't understand the tech, but she was great at using business jargon to make it sound like she did. She'd talk about synergizing our core competencies and leveraging disruptive paradigms. It was all buzzwords, no substance. I tried to be patient. I walked her through the project architecture, the market analysis, the technical hurdles we'd already overcome. I explained why we chose certain programming languages and why we avoided others. Her response? A blank stare, followed by a comment like, "Well, have you considered making it more blue sky?" It was maddening. The real trouble started when Jennifer decided Project Chimera was her ticket to the top. She started holding her own meetings about the project without inviting me or my core team. She was pitching her own vision for Chimera to upper management, a vision that was, frankly, a fantasy. She promised faster delivery dates and more features, things that were technically impossible in the time frame she was suggesting. I raised my concerns with my direct boss, a guy named David. I showed him the data, the project timelines, the resource constraints. I said, "David, Jennifer's promises are going to set us up for failure. We can't meet these new expectations. It's not realistic." David just sighed and told me to try to work with her. He was scared. Scared of the board member, scared of ruffling feathers. The breaking point came during a major quarterly review. Jennifer presented her new, wildly optimistic roadmap for Chimera to the executive team, including her uncle. She presented it as her own work, barely mentioning the team that had been bleeding for this project for 2 years. When the CEO asked about the technical feasibility, Jennifer just smiled and said, "We have the best people, we'll make it happen." That's when I had to speak up. I couldn't let my team be thrown under the bus. I stood up, and as politely as I could, I presented the reality. I showed them our original data-backed timeline. I explained the technical bottlenecks and why Jennifer's plan was a recipe for disaster. I wasn't attacking her. I was defending my project and my team. You could have heard a pin drop. Jennifer's face went from a confident smirk to pure fury. Her uncle, the board member, looked like he'd just swallowed a lemon. The meeting ended awkwardly. The next morning, I was called into HR. David was there, looking at his shoes. The HR manager read from a script. "Your role is being eliminated due to a strategic restructuring of the project." Strategic restructuring. I was fired, just like that. No real reason given, but we all knew why. I had embarrassed the board member's niece. I was devastated. I packed my desk, said goodbye to my team, who were all in shock, and walked out of that building for the last time. It felt like a punch to the gut. All that work, all that passion, gone, because I dared to tell the truth. But here's where the story gets interesting. After I left, Jennifer was put in charge of Project Chimera. She had her chance to be the hero, and for a few months, it seemed like she was succeeding. The company's stock was buzzing with news of this incredible project, and a massive potential client, a global logistics giant, had started negotiations for an exclusive licensing deal. The price tag? A staggering $5.3 billion, This deal was going to be Jennifer's crowning achievement. The logistics company was smart, though. They wanted to do their due diligence. They sent their own team of engineers to inspect the project, to look under the hood of Project Chimera. And what did they find? A mess. Without me and the original senior engineers, many of whom left shortly after I was fired, the project had stalled. Jennifer had brought in new people, but they didn't understand the core architecture. They were trying to bolt on the features Jennifer had promised, but it was like trying to put jet engines on a horse-drawn carriage. The code was a tangled wreck. The system was unstable, crashing constantly. The problem was, I had been the architect. I designed the whole system. My documentation was thorough, but there's a difference between reading a blueprint and knowing why every single brick was laid a certain way. I had built in very specific, custom fail-safes and diagnostic tools. I was the only one who really knew how to interpret their outputs, and I was gone. The due diligence team reported back to the logistics giant. Their verdict was brutal. The project was nowhere near completion. The core technology was fundamentally unstable. The promised features were just vaporware. It was a house of cards. The $5.3 billion deal didn't just crumble, it exploded. The logistics company pulled out, and they did it publicly. They released a statement saying they were no longer pursuing the partnership due to significant concerns about the viability of the core technology. The fallout was catastrophic for my old company. Their stock price plummeted. The board was furious. Heads had to roll, and this time, there was no uncle who could save Jennifer. She was fired, very publicly, for gross mismanagement and misrepresentation of a key corporate asset. Her career in the tech world was over. David, my old boss who wouldn't stand up for me, was also let go in the cleanup. And me. By then, I had already landed on my feet. A competitor had heard about my work on Chimera and hired me to lead a new, even more ambitious project. They valued my experience and my honesty. Sometimes you get pushed out of a situation that feels like the end of the world, but you have to trust that your skills, your integrity, and the truth have value. In the end, they can't fire the truth. It always finds a way to come out. What do you think? Have you ever seen something similar happen? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.